Hey, it's Julian Gordon here, and welcome back to the Build Momentum 28-Day Challenge. Today, we're going to talk about how to gain more momentum and build on your past successes. So, before we go further, let's start by looking at what momentum really is. You see, especially if you look at this in the context of the new year, a lot of people wait until the new year to start planning for the new year, which is obviously too late, right? And so, we have to actually start taking the momentum from the previous year and take that into the new year, right? We don't just want to start the new year flat. If you've ever had your car stall and you were trying to open the front door, the driver's side door, and push it on your own, the hardest part is actually getting the car rolling. But once the car is rolling and it has some momentum, it becomes easier to push into the gas station. So the same thing goes for a pole vaulter. A pole vaulter has a running start, right? And then the point that it puts its pole, they put their pole vault in the little dip, that is actually similar to January 1st or whenever it is you're making your pivot or change and transformation in your life. And then that's what allows you to leap into the life that you ultimately want. And so if you look at the physics definition of momentum, momentum is mass times velocity, okay? Mass times velocity. So how does that apply to you? Well, mass is the level of attention, which is actual energy that you put into achieving the goal. It's the actual doing of the goal. But then there's a level of intention, which is your thought energy. How much thought do you give to it on a daily basis? For most people, when they set New Year's resolutions and other goals, they set it, but then it's not in their thoughts. It's not dominating their thoughts, and therefore it falls off, right? And so that's where the mass comes from. The velocity is your last year's positive growth rate. So whatever you did last year, even if you stopped right now, there is momentum that will carry that and trickle into the upcoming year. And so that's where your velocity comes from. Now, if you had negative velocity last year, then it's actually going to take a higher degree of thought energy and actual energy for you to manifest what it is that you want this year. Right? And so this is the equation, and we want to apply this to our life and our goals. Now, here's the thing. There's a quote by Socrates that I love that says, "An unexamined life is not worth living." An unexamined life is not worth living. And when you look at that quote, what I love about it is that it's saying that if we don't take a second to pause and look at the life that we've actually lived and examine it, then it becomes very hard for us to make changes. You can only make change when you are actually aware of something. Now, the reason I bring this up is because a lot of people tell us to learn from our mistakes, right? You always hear learn from your mistakes, but it's rare that people say learn from your successes. It's very rare that people say learn from your successes. Why? Because I guess they just assume that, oh, you succeeded, so you got it figured out. When there's actually learning that needs to take place in our successes so that we can replicate that success in the future, right? And so when you think about your successes from last year, I have some questions that I want to share with you. What were your conditions for success? What was actually in place? What did your environment look like, right? What motivated you? What motivated you? Was it the end reward? Was it the journey? Was it the chance to touch many people's lives? What was it that was motivating you? Who was around you? There are people who detract from your goals, and there's people who add to your goals. Who helped you succeed? And it didn't have to be a direct help, but there were just people who were inspiring you on your journey. What accountability was in place, right? Was it just you relying on self-discipline and trying to make it happen? Or did you have accountability structures in place? Did you knock down the first domino? And then how did you avoid distractions and diversions? How did you stay focused on your goal? So when you think about your conditions for success, all these encompass your conditions for success. Or were you waking up early, an hour earlier, and that's what allows you to create space in your life to make this happen? Did you bet on it? And did you put some money down on it, right? To create a level of accountability? Did you pay for the marathon and get your first donation so that you showed up and actually trained for it properly? What were other conditions for success? You were just very crystal clear on the vision and your why, right? This is a condition for success. So when you set goals over and over and over, and which I encourage you to do monthly, you start to identify your patterns and your conditions of success. You start to see the things that are in place in your life when you succeed, and you see the things that are in place when you don't succeed. And then that makes it easier for you to replicate success in the future. So last year, you had some success, right? And we did this in the previous video where we went through your metric success, where it was on December 31st of the previous year, and where you got it to this year. And again, if you just stopped right now, momentum would carry you forward, and that would trickle into this upcoming year. But we want to increase our attention and our intention, right? And we want to take that velocity and add those. So now you have your mass and your velocity both increasing, and that's actually going to lead to progress in this upcoming year. So what I want you to do right now on this particular worksheet, I want you to put point C, right? You had some growth last year, and where do you see this growing in the upcoming year? So, for instance, for me, date nights with my wife was 12 in the previous year. It was 20 this year, and I want that to go forward, and I want to take that momentum and get it up to 24. Jada's events that I missed, it was 2 in the previous year, her first year. I missed about 5 this year, and I want to bring that back down to 2. Right? Meals with friends. It was about 12 last year, 12 this year, and I want to get that up to 24. I want to double that, right? And so I need to add, since it was the exact same as it was the year previous, I need to add more thought energy and actual energy to make this occur. My millionaire moments in my gratitude journal, it was about 1,800 the year before, it's about 2,000 this year, and I want to get that up to 2,400. So you see some other examples here, but this is how you take the momentum that you had from last year and you translate that into more momentum going forward. And this is how we see things grow year after year after year, and things start compounding just like compound interest, and you find yourself creating the life that you really, really love. So I hope this video helps you. Go ahead. This one is pretty simple. Just fill in column C so that you can start to project where you want your momentum to take you in the next 365 days. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.